Hey guys, let's talk about ingestion and intention. So, first, we're dealing with the feedback loop, which is in and out. Ingestion is obviously taking things in, and intention is when you put things out. So, it's a bit like does the chicken or the egg come first kind of thing, because you're constantly ingesting and outgesting things all the time. But intention is a little bit different, only because it's primarily energetic, and it's a lot of what you think and what you feel. And ingestion is quite often very, very physical, right? It's very anything that you can hold in your hand. It's food that you eat, things that you drink, but it's also, videos that you watch, sounds and songs that you listen to, and overall just anything that you are exposed to as a person in any waking moment. So it's very important to monitor these things because they very much depend on or determine your internal health as well. And why your intention is important is because if you're not monitoring what you're putting in your body, you're probably not monitoring what you're letting out. And they very much play into each other. So we want to break that cycle of non-conscious ingestion and intention. Because once you start to control that feedback loop, it can go from being a downward spiral to being an upward spiral, which is what we want. We want to be collecting energy in order to use it where we want it and where we need it, instead of it just kind of coming and flowing and, pushing us around every which way we, without us really having any control of it. So first, I want you to realize that you do have control over it. You have control over your choices. And that's why we'll start with intention. They're both incredibly important. But with intention, what you are thinking and feeling toward these things you are exposed to is extremely important. Like when you're exposed to yourself every morning when you look in the mirror, you need to be not thinking negatively. I keep pushing that one because I feel that that's a really, really, really harsh reality a lot of people face, is that they talk downward to themselves so often that they don't realize how much damage they're truly doing to themselves. And then the same thing goes for the water that you drink. What do you think about the water that you drink? Do you drink water? First off, if you're drinking only sugary drinks and calorie dense things that don't really have your best health in mind, then I'm sure that your intention toward it is avoidance, right? You're avoiding drinking something that is better for you, or it's distraction oftentimes for people too, because they're trying to taste something to take their mind off of something else, like whether it's hunger or it's actual thirst. A lot of times people mistake hunger for thirst because they're not drinking enough water. If you're hungry all the time, try drinking more water. If you're not drinking at least a gallon a day, drink more water. And that plays into your ingestion, because your water, if you are thinking about the things that you take in and why do you take these things in? Same with your food. Why do you eat the food that you eat? And what do you think about it? What do you feel towards it? Before you eat it, prayer. This is what religion has had right for quite a long time. Praying over your food, especially with the idea of thankfulness, being grateful for it. It has found its way to you somehow. Thank you for the resources to get it to you to where you can consume it or share it. We want to be constantly being thankful for what we receive, because it is one of the highest levels of emotion that we can put out. We want strong intention, and we want to be very effective and economic with our energy input and output. So with food, if it's very sugary, if it's very greasy, if it's not made with your best health in mind, and it's made to be cheap, or it's made to be, it just caters to your sugar cravings, it's not with your best health in mind. So your food, you want to be thankful for it. You can be thankful for those things, those sugary and greasy things. Those are not, I can't say don't ever eat those, because they still tend to make us happy, which is what we're aiming for as well. Happiness is incredibly important, but eating it so much is really just counterproductive, because then your body is working so much harder to process these foods for very little energy output. So it burns you, burning the candle at both ends. Now with seeing and hearing, this is very much to do with what you're watching on TV. Do you love horror movies? Do you like them on Halloween, or do you watch them all year long? There's nothing wrong with enjoying horror movies or thrillers or things that scare you, but a lot of people, I find, hide behind the horror movies so much that they like to be in their own anguish. Their feedback loop has become so convoluted that they're feeding off of those negative emotions, and then their intention is also incredibly negative because of avoiding pain or being scared of something in real life. It's kind of a two-way street. If you are seeing and experiencing these bad thoughts, music, movies, you're usually not going to have very good output as well. You can be an extremely loving person and love horror, but it's usually twisted in a way that's not as productive as it could be if you actually knew and were watching something that you love, instead of, watching somebody get torn apart minute after minute. Because then you're experiencing pain. You are aware of the person the actor's supposed pain. What you see, you actually simulate within yourself. So you are taking on a sense of pain. Whenever you are addicted to that sense of pain because your body has become used to projecting those hormones constantly, then you just have some gunk you have to work out. You want to avoid doing things out of fear and doing things out of victimizing yourself, and you want to look for solutions. You want to look upward. You want to be thinking about what makes you feel more and more fluffy and fuzzy inside instead of the opposite. The music that you hear works the same way. It's, if you listen to music that talks about like abductions and drinking and being greedy and getting in fights all the time, it's also an avoidance technique. It's something that makes you feel more superior or puffed up or strong because you feel that those things are what's necessary for acceptance in your place in society. And if you're in that kind of place of society every day, I'm surprised you're watching this stuff. Maybe I can help you in some way or another, but that's really for people who are in extreme survival mode. And if you are not necessarily having to fight for your life every day, I recommend you try and find something that resonates a bit closer to some positive feelings and thoughts, more compassionate, because then we're getting back up, climbing that frequential ladder so that we can increase the voltage in our body and create more healing. That's the goal, right? You want to bring on more energy so that you have a stronger sense of output and you can start to glow again. Everybody is very much these days vibrating at such a low frequency that they are no longer really emanating very strong voltage or very strong, their biofield's extremely weak. They're not in that place of love and acceptance of themselves, much less other people. We want to keep working toward that so that we can attract what it is that we want and what we need in life instead of just rolling with the punches every day. We got to get out of the habit of letting life, push us around and start learning how to push our life in the right direction. We don't need to, be punching life in the face or anything, because life is our friend, ultimately. Depending on the relationship that you build with it, it could be more or less good or bad. But as you continue to communicate with life, you will find its sense of humor and your sense of humor, because the feedback loop it is extremely, it gets intricate, but it's extremely simple as well. It's a relationship like anything else, and once you start communicating with it, it can start bringing things to you, and you can start giving it things that it needs in order to help progress you and your fate and your destiny. And that is kind of me trying to bring this topic back around to why it's relevant. Because not many people are like, why should I care about what I put in my body and what I'm letting out of my body? I don't make that much difference in this world. The point is not how much difference you make in this world. The point is how much of a difference you can make in your life from now to the future, because that is the world. I want you to be focused on yourself. It's okay to be selfish here, because you are really just right now experiencing yourself. And the more awareness that you gain, you can get insight from how other people are also experiencing their life. It's awesome. It's like having more characters and viewpoints in the same story. You get more information and more intricacies and more progression. But you also need to get better at dealing with yourself first. We cannot start to heal others. We cannot start to project energy. We cannot start to become a magnet until we have enough power to sustain ourselves. So I encourage you to watch what you're eating, watch what you're drinking, what you are seeing and listening to every day. Incredibly important, because it's just, so many people are not, they're just in a pleasure mode. They're constantly wanting to just do things without their health in mind. And pleasure is extremely important as well, but it does need to come with balance. It's another one of those cliche things that nobody wants to hear, because we all know that balance is important, but usually our extremes is what we fall into when we are seeking some kind of, I'm having a hard time with words today. Well, it's gone, but thank you very much for your time if you've listened this far in. I will do more videos on how to place intention into your water, because I'm sure I didn't cover that very closely, but you can. It's very awesome. Same thing with food. If you're not good at prayer and you feel really weird about prayer or trying to use prayer, I can show you ways and tell you about how all that works in a way that is you're not feeling like you're going back to church, because that's not what we're doing. We don't need to go back to church for these things, but there is science behind how it does work. So that's why it's important. And try to mix it up with what some music you listen to, as far as like maybe your genre, and same thing with your movies. Try different genres. A lot of the time we have these pent-up emotions, and that's why we're trying to be more hardcore than we need to be half the time. Usually there's a big extreme. If you're really hardcore in some areas, you're probably really soft in others, and I want you to embrace that. And if that scares you, that you don't like that vulnerability, and you're not ready to go there yet, try to find some middle ground. Try to test the waters in between, so that you don't have to jump from one to the other and have to worry about, oh no, what are these people going to think about me? Our goal is to get over that feeling, because you're going to make the most progress when you stop fearing what other people are doing and thinking. It's not typically part of your story unless you make it part of your story. And then we'll ease into it if we have to, but otherwise we're trying to make as much progress as possible, because we don't have all, forever on this world, right? But thank you again for tuning in for my explanation here. My name is Abigail Montgomery, but you can call me Abby. And I like to help people work on their sixth sense and strengthen it, flex your intuitive muscles, and find where you fit in this world, where destiny and fate can work with you instead of against you. And you have a great day.